At the start of the film, 8 hopeful applicants are shown preparing themselves for a final recruitment exam for a prestigious corporate position. Some quietly boost their confidence with self-encouragement, while others fix their appearances before heading into the examination hall. The testing room is dimly lit, lined with evenly placed desks for each candidate, and security cameras mounted to observe every movement. Once they are all seated, a guard carrying a firearm steps into the room, immediately unsettling the group. Moments later, a man enters, identifying himself only as the invigilator. He expresses sympathy for the challenges that candidates have faced to reach this point, explaining that they have already cleared the earlier stages of the hiring process and are now the finalists. Success in this last round will earn them the position they've been dreaming of. He explains the rules of the exam. No external laws apply here, only the rules of the test matter. The candidates are strictly forbidden from communicating with the guard or the invigilator. If anyone damages their paper, whether deliberately or by accident, or leaves the room for any reason, they will be instantly disqualified. The exam lasts 80 minutes, and each candidate has only one question before them that they must answer. After laying out the rules, the invigilator asks if there are any questions. When no one speaks up, he wishes them good luck, starts the countdown timer, and exits the hall. The candidates flip their exam papers over, only to discover they are completely blank. Confused, they glance at each other as the seconds tick away. Anxiety builds until candidate number 2 begins writing on her sheet, explaining why she deserves the position. However, the overhead camera zooms in on her page, and within moments the guard approaches, dragging her out for having defaced her paper. She pleads for another chance, but the door locks behind her. Sometime later, candidate number 5 realizes a loophole. The rules only prohibit speaking to the guard or the invigilator. Nothing prevents them from speaking to each other. He shares this discovery with the group, suggesting that teamwork might be necessary to identify the hidden question and solve it. Slowly, the others agree, though none are sure where to begin. Candidate number 1, however, stays completely silent throughout, never once opening his mouth. When one participant attempts to introduce himself, number 5 proposes they use nicknames instead, keeping their real identities secret. He dubs the silent man Deaf, since he hasn't spoken yet. The others are labeled by appearance: brown, black, and white for the men of different ethnicities, and blonde, brunette, and dark for the women with distinctive hair colors. White then pushes the group further by suggesting there's no rule binding them to their seats. Testing his theory, he stands up. The guard doesn't react, and the group quickly realizes they are free to move around the room. This sparks Dark's suspicion that the exam questions may be hidden with invisible ink or watermarks. Although unsure how to prove it, she insists they check carefully. She moves toward the lights, tilting her paper beneath them, but nothing is revealed. Still, she urges everyone to check their own sheets in case only one contains the hidden question. All comply except for Deaf, who remains in his chair, silent and fidgeting. White snatches his paper and inspects it under the lights as well, yet the pages remain blank. Frustrated, Black speculates that the question might only show up under ultraviolet or X-ray light. This leads the group to search the room for alternate switches or hidden panels. When nothing turns up, they begin searching for another way to trigger such lighting. Blonde discovers strips of emergency lights along the room's edges, but without any switches, they realize the only way to activate them is to break the existing bulbs to simulate an emergency. Brown argues against the risk, but the group takes a vote and decides to proceed. Smashing the bulbs one by one, the room is soon bathed in a bluish glow from the emergency black lights. Everyone eagerly inspects their papers again, everyone except Deaf. Yet once again, nothing appears. Brunette suggests stripping the outer layer of the emergency lights, believing that the raw light underneath may reveal ultraviolet rays. Using her heels, they shatter the casing and expose the bulbs, but disappointment follows again as no writing emerges. With the timer showing just 60 minutes left, panic begins to spread. White angrily pushes them to consider other alternatives. As brainstorming intensifies, he comes up with another idea. Since candidate 2 has already been disqualified, her paper is no longer bound by the rules. The group gathers around her desk and tries shading over the page with a pencil, hoping hidden writing might appear. Despite all their attempts, the paper remains blank. Frustrated, White rips candidate number 2's sheet into pieces, suggesting they use them for experiments. In desperation, he even urinates on one section, thinking liquid might reveal hidden writing, but that fails too. Tensions rise quickly, and Black and White nearly get into a fight until they're distracted by the sound of Deaf sobbing. To everyone's shock, the silent man suddenly begins muttering in French, asking if anyone sees images reflected in their sheets and rambling that the papers mirror their own faces. The others dismiss his words and continue arguing. It's then that Brown shares his own disturbing theory. He insists this isn't an exam at all, but rather some sort of twisted betting game, where the company's executives are wagering on who breaks down first under pressure. According to him, the purpose of the test isn't recruitment, it's entertainment for the board. Dark scoffs, arguing powerful executives wouldn't waste time on such childish games, but Brown pushes back. With fortunes already beyond comprehension, he claims, they live for thrill and risk. This sparks an avalanche of theories. Some believe the invigilator is behind the mind games, while others point fingers at the CEO himself. Accusations fly, insults are thrown, and the candidates begin turning on each other. Brunette suddenly silences the room by boldly stating that no board members are involved, because the company is entirely controlled by one man, the CEO, who owns every right and every decision. She seems unusually informed, which prompts Brown to ask how she knows so much. Reluctantly, she reveals that she works in HR for the company, but has never met the CEO in person. She only applied for this higher position to rise further in the organization. This revelation leads others to share their own backgrounds. White boasts that he was personally headhunted for the role, while the rest admit they had to apply. Yet they all share one strange thing in common. Not a single one of them actually knows what the company does, since they were strictly told never to ask. Finally, Brunette fills the gap, explaining that the company is Birog, a world-renowned pharmaceutical giant. Years earlier, during a deadly pandemic targeting young people, they were the first to discover the cure, and their success made billions for the firm. Currently, their annual turnover exceeds $20 billion, thanks entirely to their mysterious CEO. At that moment, Black offers a chilling possibility. Perhaps the company has already developed a cure for the new disease currently sweeping across the globe, one that has been killing millions. Dark, suddenly curious, presses him for details. White notices her interest and suspiciously asks if she herself is infected. Dark quickly denies it, brushing off the question, then shifts attention by moving toward the guard. Without saying a word, she lifts a lighter from his pocket and eyes the fire alarm. A plan is formed, to use fire to trigger the sprinklers, hoping water will reveal hidden text. Dark climbs a chair to reach the alarm, but it's too high. White helps by handing her a rolled paper, which she lights and presses against the alarm. Instantly, water rains down, drenching the room. Yet again, the papers remain blank. Just then, the guard begins advancing toward them. Dark clutches her own sheet, but to her horror, White betrays her, having switched her paper out. The guard seizes her and drags her away as she screams at White, cursing him. The betrayal enrages Black, who lunges at White, promising to beat his lights out. His shouted threat causes the lights to flicker off, revealing that the system responds to spoken commands. Realizing this, the group warns each other to choose words carefully. Deaf, overwhelmed again, breaks into sobs. White, cruel and calculating, sits beside him and taunts him until the man tears his own sheet and swallows it. The guard immediately approaches, leading Deaf out as well. Now only 5 candidates remain. Black, furious at White's ruthlessness, berates him, but White smugly insists they should thank him for eliminating competitors. He then teases that he knows exactly what the exam question is, but refuses to share it. Black loses control and floors him with a single punch. The others tie him to a chair and gag him with a tie to keep him quiet. Sometime later, White regains consciousness. Brunette removes the gag, and he gasps for air, begging for his medication. He reveals that he is infected with the deadly virus and requires a pill every hour just to survive. The group searches his pockets for pills but finds none, leading them to suspect he's lying to manipulate them. White weakly insists one of them must have taken it and offers to reveal the question if they return it. Moments later, he collapses again, his body trembling violently. Some dismiss it as another ploy, but Black recognizes the signs immediately. White is in the middle of a seizure, and it's real. The group begins frantically searching for the pill White claimed he needed, but it's nowhere in sight. With only 15 minutes left on the clock, they start checking one another. Brunette's suspicion quickly falls on Brown, and her hunch proves correct. She discovers the pill stuck beneath his desk with chewing gum. She rushes to give it to White, but Brown suddenly snatches it and tosses it into a nearby vent. Desperate, the others attempt to retrieve it. Overcome with pressure, Brunette breaks the rules and faces the camera, pleading with the invigilator to save White. The moment she speaks, she is instantly disqualified and dragged out. Once she's gone, Blonde cleverly uses a bobby pin to fish the pill out of the vent and feeds it to White, reviving him. She even unties him, freeing him completely. When White regains his strength, the remaining candidates demand he reveal the promised answer. He smugly claims that the exam was never about a written question. The candidates themselves are the answers. According to him, survival is the real test, and whoever remains standing at the end earns the job. The group reluctantly begins to accept his theory, but before they can process it, White lunges for the guard's weapon. Black intercepts, wrestles him down, and secures the gun. Pointing it at White, Black declares that he won't hesitate, but White laughs and insists he won't pull the trigger. In a sudden move, he tackles Black and seizes the gun. Just as he's about to use it, he realizes it is locked with fingerprint recognition. Smirking, he drags the guard close and uses his hand to activate it, then aims the weapon at the others. He threatens everyone to leave voluntarily so that he will be declared the last remaining candidate. Brown, terrified, gives in and exits without protest. Blonde follows, slowly stepping out of the room. But at the last moment, she yells, "Lights out!" The room plunges into darkness. White panics and fires blindly. When the lights return, Black lies motionless, blood seeping from a wound in his chest. White spins around, ready to finish off Blonde, only to see that one of her feet is still inside the room. Just then, he notices the timer has stopped. Believing victory is his, White approaches the camera and confidently announces himself as the winner. The guard steps forward, holding up the real time. White's eyes widen in horror. 20 seconds remain. By speaking to the invigilator, he has violated the rules and disqualified himself. It's revealed that Def had secretly altered the timer earlier, distracting the group while they argued. Now, only Blonde remains. She cautiously re-enters the room and picks up Def's broken glasses, left behind when he was escorted out. Looking through them at her exam sheet, she finally notices faint words. Question 1. At that moment, Def himself walks back in, no longer timid but calm and composed, revealing that he is actually the company's elusive CEO. He had disguised himself as a candidate to observe them firsthand. Blonde approaches and confidently answers, "No." The CEO and the invigilator exchange a smile, recognizing that she has finally solved the puzzle. The real trick of the exam was hidden in plain sight. At the very beginning, when the invigilator asked if they had any questions, that was the sole question. Whoever was attentive enough to recognize it would succeed. Impressed, the CEO offers her the position as his secretary. At first, Blonde refuses, disgusted by an organization willing to toy with lives. But the invigilator reveals a shocking twist. Black isn't dead at all. The bullet he was struck with was actually a medical capsule developed by the company, one that instantly heals wounds and is powerful enough to cure any illness. Realizing the magnitude of this breakthrough, Blonde reconsiders and finally accepts the offer. The film closes with her shaking hands with the CEO, her new future just beginning. Like and subscribe for more recaps like this.